You ever did. I talk to myself every day. I think she's sick of hearing about you, about you. Somebody tried to like me and I scared them with my mind. I'm oh so worried all the time. He got so quiet on the line. I say my prayers every day. Open the window, burn the sage. I'm cleaning more and more these days. I like to think I'm worthy of something. You're there still when I sleep, when I wake up. You're there still when I try, when I give up. You're there still when I hide, when I look up. You're there still when I fight, when I breathe out. Too many dishes to clean, too many fish in the sea, too many thieves. I trusted you with my things, you feasted here like a king. I'm missing my laugh and my wings, my curl pattern and my good dreams. I'm missing the way that I think, the softness of words that I sing. Did you get a dime for my thing? I want 'em back. I say my prayers every day. Krista said trouble don't last always. I'm healing more and more these days. I like to think I'm worthy of something. You're there still when I sleep, when I wake up. You're there still when I try, when I give up. You're there still when I hide, when I look up. You're there still when I fight, when I breathe out. When I breathe out. I guess I'll never get over you. I guess you're moving on it. I'm making peace with what's left of you. Take off your shoes and come in. Can't live with you. Can't live without you. Can't live with you. Can't live without you. You're still with my head. Can't live without you. You're still with my head. You're there still when I hide, when I look up. You're there still when I fight, when I breathe out.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch. Now, can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, lean all in my bladder. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding in boobies. Cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
Hat down, cross town, living like a rock star. Spend a lot of money on my brand new guitar. Baby's got a habit, diamond rings and Fendi sports bras. Riding down Rodeo in my Maserati sports car. Got no stress, I've been through all that. I'm like a Marlboro man, so I keep going back. Wish I could roll on back to that old town road. I wanna ride till I can't no more.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my
She can say in her voice, in her way, that she love me. With her eyes, with her smile, with her belt, with her hands, with her money. I am the thesis of her prayers. Her nieces and her nephews are just pieces of the layers. Only one she love as much as me is Jesus Christ and Taylor. I got a feature song singing for my grandma. You sing it too, but your grandma ain't my grandma. Mine's handmade, pan-fried, sun-dried, southside, and beat the devil by a landslide. Praying with her hands tied. President of my fan club, Santa. Something told me I should bring my
You gotta move it slowly, taking in my body like it's holy. I've been waiting for you for the whole week. I've been praying for you, you're my Sunday candy.
You gotta move
slowly, taking in my body like it's holy. I've been waiting for you for this whole week. I've been waiting for you, you're my Sunday candy. Come on in this house. It's gonna rain down time. It's gonna rain. You better come on in this house. It's gonna rain down time. It's gonna rain.
I come to church for the candy, your peppermints is the truth. I'm pessimistic on Monday. If I had tweaked and missed you, you look so good with the hat on, had to match with the shoes.
All right, all right. Look, y'all, I'm really, really, I had all this time to sit here and I still have a straggly voice. Look, y'all, I'm really, really, really excited to be with y'all, to have a timely conversation and just reflect a little bit on Liberate MKE um, and talk about this resource we're going to be releasing in just a few minutes. If you don't know me, my name is Devin Anderson. I'm the membership and campaign director here at the African American Roundtable. I've been at the African American Roundtable for now 6.5 years. And for I saw in the chat, folks were talking about that little Nas X and the other guy who's on the song. And so, the reason I played that is, when we launched Liberate MKE 6 years ago, that was the #1 song in the country. I feel like really, really old thinking about that and hearing that. And also I'm like, I don't remember that song being 6 years old. I thought it was a lot newer, but no, but just really super excited to be here with y'all. I'm gonna pass it to Marquesa to introduce herself.
Good evening, y'all. It's super exciting, like Devin said, to be in space with you all. I'm Marquesa Tucker Harris. I'm the executive director with the African American Roundtable, and I have been with the organization in some fashion or form, really since 2014, coming in as a member, and then a co-chair in 2016, 2017 director, and 2021 the executive director. And what a journey! So excited to be talking about Liberate MKE tonight.
Yeah, I am really, really excited to chat about Liberate MKE as well tonight. One thing we're gonna do just to we know this is like a webinar, you can but we do want interaction. We have the chat open for folks to use. I also just want to draw attention to another feature as well. If you look on the bottom of your screen, you can also see a Q&A. If you do have a question that comes up throughout tonight, you can drop a question in the Q&A. We definitely have time allotted in the agenda to answer your question. So we're excited about that. So if you have a question that comes up through tonight, you can put it in the Q&A. Look, I know I love a chat. I love to be active in a chat. I love to be dropping things in the chat. I love to be keying in the chat. So you can also use the chat throughout the evening. So I just want to invite folks to have a good old time chatting it up throughout the evening. We're gonna start in the chat. Marquez and I will share, but we'll start in the chat now. just with a quick, community connector, we'll ask a couple of different questions. First, if you could share your name, yeah, share your name. That'd be great. And then just like, one of your favorite memories, if you've thrown down with this over the years with Liberate MKE, one of your favorite Liberate MKE memories. If not, just think of another campaign you've thrown down with. And like, what is your favorite memory working on that campaign in that moment? All right, so feel free to put that in the chat. And I'll start by passing that question to Marquesa.
Yeah, thanks, Devin. So my favorite Liberate MKE moment was when we won. The probably the first year where we were actually able to divest money from police and put it into community programming or community supported programs was amazing, right? Because that's why we run campaigns. We run them to win them. And so that would probably be my most exciting. And one of those times that we won, we were able to get money into the Earn and Learn program through the city, which my daughter participated in this summer. So it was really exciting to be able to tell her that story, that the work that we did helped to bring more dollars and increase their pay through the work that we did. What about you, Devin?
Yeah, ooh, I had one in my head and then I've like changed it like 5 times in the last 5 minutes. I think for me, one of my favorite Liberate MKE moments is in the summer of 2020. It was COVID and we were really in the house. And for folks who don't know me like that, I'm from Racine, so I was still living with my parents in Racine, and we had a Liberate MKE defund block party that we partnered with Metcalf Park and the Milwaukee Freedom Fund on, and so it was just a really cool opportunity to have some really fun games out there. We had like live screen printing, a really cool shirt that I lost my version of it, but I think that was one my favorite Liberate MKE moment. But I think there have been so many moments that I look back on with so much fondness um, and appreciation for. Another one, facilitator's privilege. Another one is when we worked with what Joe Brusky, is that his name? We lit
Mhm.
up. We had the Liberate MKE over the freeway overpass. And I think back to that night. It was a chilly night, but we got a crew of folks together to do that as well.
Yeah,
So
folks
yeah,
will be able to see, I think, that picture that was with the overhead light brigade. If anybody knows the overhead light brigade, that's who helped us light up.
yeah, and just
Oh,
like
that's what
looking.
Liz said.
Yeah. Yeah, Liz shares that memory. Malisha talked about like providing public testimony downtown. I think those so many of those moments, seeing the ways in which everyday people, as Ella Baker would say, show up and show out and let the make sure their voices are heard in that as well. Yeah, right. I talked about the press conference when we launched in 2019. Um, the story to that is, we launched on Juneteenth in 2019, right off of, right outside of the festival. And, our pal and comrade and somebody who supported us for years, Jeff Kennedy, really archived the moment with some video for us. And we
Absolutely.
had, a crew of what, 50 plus people, multiple organizations, many partners there. And so that was a fun moment as well.
Sweet moment. Sweet moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like really what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna talk about Liberate MKE, like in terms of our case is gonna really ground like how this thing was created. We're also going to talk about some of the challenges and why why we as the African American Roundtable are sunsetting, but also why hopefully leave folks inspired and let them know that these type of fights are still really urgent and necessary. And then I'm gonna walk y'all through the actual toolkit that we've worked really hard with several people who I'll share then with. And then we'll just close out with some next steps and some upcoming things and what you have to look forward too with us in relationship to like not only continuing to sunset Liberate MKE throughout the rest of the year, but just what Sunsetting Liberate MKE is creating with our new Northwest Side campaign. So that's really where we're gonna go. Marquez, I'll just start with you and just ask like why, like how was Liberate MKE like started?
Yeah. So again, shout out to all of y'all that are showing up to hear about this. Our communications consultant Anastasia Douglas calls this, and I think Malisha Reedy, our coordinator, our program and logistics coordinator, talks about this being an end of an era. And so it started with political education, comrades in our community, including our friends from Milwaukee Freedom Fund, Nate Gilliam. He was running a grassroots organization, was teaching people about the city budget. I was curious, and I so happened to get a glimpse of this pie chart. Some of you all know that famous pie chart that shows the city budget and what percentages what city departments get. And I saw it and I was like, what is the blue? What's the blue portion of it? And it was almost half of pie graph. And someone was like, yeah, that's the police. And I'm like, whoa, how can any city thrive with one department very, 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 inclusive around like the police though. Not just any department, but police. How could any city thrive under those conditions? And so that just began my journey around curiosity and how I could become a part of this process that I never really knew I had the access to do through the city budget. And so I started to learn alongside Alderwoman Malele Coggs, and she kind of walked me through it in 20, I believe it was 18, and gave me this really thick book. It's a budget book. I don't even know if they print those anymore, Devin, but the budget book shows all of the different department requests. And so I began skimming through that book, specifically the police portion, just to see like what is it that you all are requesting that costs so much. And so when I did, I saw this license plate reader that they wanted for $300,000, and I'm like, and then I think after Alderwoman Cox and I chatted, she told me, they already have some. They're just like requesting a new one. I'm like, wow, let's find something else to use that money for. And during that time, the Office of Violence Prevention was just starting. Like people were just starting to know we even had a Office of Violence Prevention. I was like, why don't we move the money towards that? And people didn't really trust the department just yet. So she was like, we can't do that. Either way it goes, they moved the money though from police. And I was like, whoa, if my voice working with one alder person can get $300,000 moved from police, then what could really happen? And so fast forward to 2019, the roundtable and some of the coalition partners decided to have a strategic session with M. Adams, who is currently with Movement for Black Lives, used to be with Freedom Inc. in Madison. And she led this strategy session for us and asked us these real pointed questions around what is it that we could be doing as a coalition, and then began to ask us questions. It's a spectrograph where people are standing in the room, and she asked the question: if there were more Black people on the Common Council, do you think less Black people would be killed by police? Some people went to the left, some people went to the right, some people stood in the middle, being neutral. And then asking a question like, oh, if police had more body cams, do you think less people would be killed by police? Again, some people went to the left, some went to the right, some stood in the middle. And after going through a series of those questions, we took a break and we could see that everybody wasn't sold on this possibility around shifting towards a position of moving away from police reform, which is where we were working after supporting the Hamilton family when Dontre Hamilton, a Black man, was murdered in Red Arrow Park, downtown Milwaukee. And so I said, we should talk about the city budget. Like we should say that we want to do an Invest Divest campaign, and was like, we're going to just throw it out there. We did. And people were like, let's do it. We came up with the name Liberate MKE, hired Devin a few months later, and I passed the baton to Devin. And that's how the work became, that came to life, really. It was just some experimentation of my own curiosity, political education, and people being willing to do something different that we had never done in the city of Milwaukee before.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, you know, I'm a put in the chat, like if you guys ever heard this line that budgets are moral documents. Say yay, yay. I don't know if we can do all the reactions, but if you've heard that line, just say yay in the chat or yeah, yeah, I heard that. But one of the things, Marquez is talking about is, seeing Milwaukee spend, when I started 46% of its budget on police, um, seeing that it's a politicizing experience in its own right. Seeing that it's a politicizing experience. And for Liberate MKE, one of the things we wanted to do with that is actually name that precisely that like right a lot of times what we hear politicians say is that actually the residents want more police. I'm hearing from my district, they want more police. And we actually wanted to reject that notion and say, actually, we believe they want more safety, right? And so part of the work of Liberate MKE, and if you can go back, to 2018 and 2019, as Marquez is like, having starting to formulate this campaign, there wasn't as many defund police campaigns, right? The word abolition hadn't penetrated sort of mainstream consciousness the way it has now. And so part of like, right, when Marquesa talks about, hiring me, and one of the things when I took this job, I remember I was telling one of my dear friends, I was like, yo, I'm getting this job, I get to be an organizer, I get to do this thing, and I get to work on this campaign. And he goes, do you really think you can win? Do you really think taking money away from the police at this time is possible? And I said, yeah, partially because I was, what, 6.5 years younger and maybe slightly more naive. But one of the reasons I had deep belief is because I think I knew and I had an understanding that the underlying issue that people wanted was not necessarily more police, but more safety.
Mhm.
To Marques's point, one of the things, I learned from one of our mentors and comrades, Andrea Ritchie, when Marquesa talked about, asking that question on the spectrograph, do you think if there were more Black police officers or the Common Council was Blacker, less people would be killed by the police? The answer is no. How do I know that? Because actually, when we think about the cost of policing, yes, we have to think about it in terms of the numbers, in terms of the 315 plus $1 million they're spending every year. And we have to think about it in terms of the actual human cost,
Mhm.
the way in which the state and the police get to determine who lives and dies. And so for folks in the chat who haven't heard the line I talked about budgets being moral documents. One of the things I want to say about it and why we when we launched Liberate MKE, we went for the money is think about it in your own household. What do you spend money on?
Mhm.
Right? I know for me, as if you know me, I love a good meal.
Don't we all?
I love a good meal and I will spend a lot of money on a good meal. But guess what, y'all? Guess what, y'all? I just bought a house. I just bought a house and my cost of living has increased. And so it's no longer as feasible for me to go out to eat 3 times a week because I gotta pay my mortgage. Right? And so when we see a city spending 46% of its budget on police and policing and 2% of its budget on libraries, that should give us an indication. That should give us an indication about what they care about. It's
That's right.
actually not about providing the services we desperately need. Exactly. It's about controlling us. Marquesa, I chatted a little bit, and I'm going to segue to this next question. Is You talked about launching Liberate MKE 6 years ago. Can you talk about why now um, we're sunsetting it?
Yeah, so it was never a plan to just keep, I mean, you run campaigns to win, and to move on to something else. And so it was never something for us to continue to run. And we strategically actually were going to run it one more year this year. But unfortunately, Act 12, if anybody is familiar with that, some of our politicians here in the city of Milwaukee went to Madison and fought to get more of the shared revenue. Milwaukee brings in the most revenue. Yes, we know. Yes, we wish we could get our fair share, but not at the expense of selling out the city of Milwaukee and Black people particularly. And so Act 12 um, pigeon-toed us, chokehold us into saying like, hey, we'll give you this shared revenue if you all keep this sworn strength of police. We will give you this shared revenue if you put police back in school after young people said they didn't want police in school. And so, after running this campaign this many years and this many times, we understand that people, again, people need to be in campaigns to actually win. And so we had hit a brick wall, and Devin said, you know what, let me think about this before I say yes to us running this again. Because if we know that we can't win, we're in this place where police are absolutely going to get more money. Police are absolutely going to they're going to run more police classes, even though year after year after year, we and many of you who have supported the MKE campaign have gone down with us to City Hall or sent an email and said, actually, I would prefer more streetlights, or I would prefer, more garbage picking, I would prefer, the library hours being increased. I would prefer more money going to the neighborhood department. And instead, this is what elected officials, very particularly Mayor Johnson and County Executive David Crowley, were a part of that Act 12 piece. And Devin just dropped in the chat a blog that one of our members, Yolanda, wrote that gives you just a little bit more information about Act 12. But it hasn't helped, because guess what? We're still going to be in a hole when it comes to pensions being paid out, and a bunch of other things. And so this is not going to solve the crisis around the city budget mismanagement. And honestly, you all, if ARPA money hadn't come down, the city of Milwaukee probably would have gone bankrupt, to be totally honest.
Yeah, and to Marques's point, why now? I also want to like lift up like where we are as an organization. We're in a different spot than we were 6 years ago, right? I think, one of the memories I talked about, or we heard folks talk about just a couple of minutes ago, was launching the campaign. And when we launched Liberate MKE, we launched it with 40 plus coalition partners. And when I say coalition partners, I mean other organizations who are like, I'm down and I want to work on this with like shoulder to shoulder. And, one of the assessments Marquez and I had in 2020 is actually, as thousands of people are taking to the street here in Milwaukee, is actually we need to build and become a Black political home for people. And what
Mhm.
does that mean? Well, it meant some actual shifts in our organization, right? One of the things we're like, actually, right now, Marquez and I, we can't do this. We can't bring in a new group of members. So we had to hire a base building organizer who's Raisha. And so we had to, take some time to scale. And so then with membership, one of the things we want to do with our members is also practice, that democracy, allowing the members to shape where we go. We also made a commitment to the Northwest side of Milwaukee, right? We also made a commitment to organizing on the Northwest side. There's so much incredible organizing that happens in sort of Central City, but we saw a gap that there wasn't folks organizing on the Northwest side of Milwaukee. And I think it's a shirt I might have somewhere. It says Black people are everywhere, right? And so we know and we knew Black people were on the Northwest side of Milwaukee, and we wanted to invest time and resources there. And so one of the things we did in our strategic plan in 2023 is that our goal is actually be to co-developing a campaign with our Northwest side members and community leaders on the Northwest side. And so, um, over the last, what, 18 months ish, maybe, We began to have listening sessions. What do people on the Northwest Side care about? And we have a cohort of folks of our members on the Northwest Side actually currently in the process of developing a campaign. And so I think it's so our assessment was rooted in a couple of things. We saw a shifting terrain. We saw some of the backlash coming and existing in this at the city level, and also we wanted to create and open up a new door to go through a process of building a campaign and building building a new campaign with our members, which has been a really generative conversation. Marquesa,
Devin, can I
oh,
jump back in? So when Devin talked about this backlash, so one thing that we learned with Liberate MKE when we were organizing around it, we are a city-based, like very hyper local. And so while we're doing this hyper local organizing on the city level, police union at the state level lobbying folks to ensure that this Act 12 legislation moved through. So it's like the backlash was a response directly to our organizing. So it's like, oh, and then yeah, another piece that was added into Act 12 was if you divest from police, you will lose your share revenue. So it was a direct response, like Devin said, this backlash to our organizing and our work. And so that's another thing we realized, like, we didn't have enough reach in our organizing to stop something like Act 12 as well.
yeah. And I think, I always go back to what my mom taught me is my mom always would say to me, tell the truth, shame the devil. And so Marquesa talking very candidly about, the power and the lack of power we've been able to build and exercise is actually an important piece. It's actually a really important piece because those type of assessments lead us to sharper organizing strategies and tactics. And and so that assessment over the last 6 years is not saying, oh, we haven't built any power with Liberate MKE over the last years, but it's saying we built power. How do we know we built power? Because we've been able to win some things. Marquesa talked about how her daughter has benefited from, the Earn and Learn program that we've not only helped expand in terms of how many people can be served, right? We're starting to see that shrink back though, let's be honest, but also how much they're paid. We've been able to win that. And also like we've been able to win this year funds and resources for participatory budgeting are allowing residents to have real decision-making power. So we have been able to win some things. But what we haven't been able to do is to scale our impact um, and and contend with the power at the state level. And so I think that's a really crucial point that actually in the end was really hampering. Marquesa, I think that will pivot to us to, the next thing. Like, what do you think we've added, Liberate MKE and our budget work here in Milwaukee's added to the national landscape around, this defund police effort?
Yeah, so like you said, when we first started Liberate MKE, it wasn't, I think the invest divest model really started to uptick after the uprisings, right? In 2020 and during COVID, after George Floyd was murdered, after Breonna Taylor was murdered. And so we have these lessons at our back, and we've been able to be on national panels, talk to other partners, be in cohort spaces, and share the lessons that we learn, what we've been able to win, like Devin said, like the assessments that we've had along the way. Some of those assessments have helped to support other people shaping their campaigns, right? There's no sense of, repeating something that hasn't worked, or, just adding wisdom and knowledge that we have from how we've worked with our residents, how we've had to have conversations with our political elected officials, and so also putting it on the map that we can win invest divest campaigns. That these were possible, and we won a couple years in a row where we actually were able to win things. But also, I think that it shows this long game around organizing and building power, because not only did we get these incremental wins, and yes, there were some rollbacks to those things, we also just got this really huge participatory budgeting win that we'll tell you about a little bit later. if you haven't heard about it. And so I think that it tells this really amazing story about what it looks like to do something different, step out of the box, be a trailblazer in the city and say, actually, we can do something to build power, to push back, and to get our needs met with the tax dollars that we actually get to control, and also be able to share these lessons with other leaders across the country and show them again that we can win. Everybody wants to win campaigns.
Yeah, just to add just a little bit more texture to what Marquez was saying, really in 2019, when we launched Liberate MKE, one of the only other active like campaigns that was trying to divest money from police was in Durham, the Beyond Policing campaign. And so, learning from them and being able to learn with them was something that was a really, really valuable lesson when we were first starting. Marquesa, one of the things you talked about is sort of the challenge in this moment. I think like it would be, malpractice for us to be on a call and not talk about some of the other things that are going on. Is and so my question is like, and the other things going on is first, I don't know if folks saw, but the Milwaukee Police Department is asking for a 12.75% raise. That's one thing. So if they want to raise, that's obviously going to cost money. The other thing is the Milwaukee Police Union's president indicated that he favors having the National Guard come to Milwaukee like it's doing in other cities and like the administration is threatening. How are those things like just adding another layer of challenge to demands to take money or divest money from police and invest money into other things?
Yeah, especially with the Act 12. With Act 12, they're already at this certain point where it's like we can't recoil back on that. But then to hear, and I understand, people want to make more money. But we don't have it to give. We don't have it to give here in the city of Milwaukee. And again, in a place where people have consistently said for years that police get too much money and they want to see safety supported in a different way. And to come out and say, not only do we want to raise, we want a 12 point. I mean, guys, guys. So it's, it feels like a slap in the face, honestly, Devin, to have heard the police union say that after, again, years of hearing and just knowing that police don't bring safety. They are reactionary to things and they do not support addressing the root causes of violence. And so to hear that even the police chief as well, I think the police chief also just got a really huge raise as well. And to say, yeah, I support that. And, I think that it just continues to layer the efforts. And it also I think it brings hopelessness to to people in our communities to hear that as well when we have so many things that are being divested from in the city of Milwaukee. And how dare we say, after you all get that much of the budget, to say, actually, and we want more. And we want more. We want to expand our reach more. And then in regards to what was the second question you said, Devin?
I think like really that and even them wanting the National Guard.
Yes, wanting the National Guard. The political climate that we're living in right now it's pretty it's pretty depleting. I'm a person, I don't necessarily watch the news, but you stay involved just enough where you can hear those things. So I too also heard that really egregious news where we know that the National Guard is being called out in other places across the city. And we see what's been happening in DC. We hear the conversations that are being had in Chicago. And so Chicago is right up the street, right from us. And so to hear that even being toyed with in our city, and we, unfortunately, we don't have city officials who stand 10 toes down for people that look like us. And so we have to respond to that. We have to find a way to respond to that. As we see in other cities, we actually just are hearing that people are going to maybe throw down in some different cities over the weekend in response to this, because we have to continue to push back on any narrative to continue to expand the state. And this is just another way that they're looking to do that. And it makes me think about a project that we actually participated in, myself, Devin, and Raisha, around creating these ecosystems of care. And it's like, these are the moments that make me think about, like, how do we lean into creating those type of ecosystems of care? Because if they are knocking at Chicago's door, if they're knocking at DC's door, it may not be long, unfortunately, before they're knocking at ours. And how can we create spaces that support ourselves? Again, around this line where maybe you've heard it before, we keep each other safe. Well, how exactly do we do that? And I'm thinking about these ecosystems of care.
Yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of things. First, like, right, what we need to understand and have an understanding is that police are not neutral actors. They're political actors. And I think, like, right, the union president saying that only illuminates that they're actually political actors. They're not here to serve the public good. They're actually here to serve political agendas. And then the second thing I just want to add to that is that, you know, when they want a 12.5% raise or 12.75% raise, we also have to place that in the context of other city employees have not been able to get a raise. They have not been able to collectively bargain for fair wages. And so just the ego, the brashness, one of the things that I learned from Alex Goodwin from Chicago, one of the things she always would say is police aren't workers. And we have to draw that line that actually, what they do is not like, their union is not the same as other types of unions. And I think the folks at Interrupting Criminalization, Andrea Ritchie, Kaba, they've also made that point. They're not unions, they call them frats or fraternal organizations because it's a different subset of what they're trying to do. Um, and I think maybe the last thing I would say to Marquesa's point, she talked about if they come, if you allow them to come for Chicago, it's likely they're coming from here. That goes back to what uh, you know James Baldwin wrote about Angela Davis. If we allow them to come for if we allow, he said if we allow them to come for her in the morning, they'll be at our doorsteps before sunset. And so that leads us to, like, we've named some of the challenges, but Marquez, so the last question before we walk through and show off the toolkit is even with tough terrain and choppy waters, why are these fights still necessary? Why do we still need people making demands to move money away from police into other things?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Jarvis said it, mentioned something about like our necessities. Like, first of all, this is our money. This is our money. These are our taxpayer dollars. And when I learned that, when I first came into learning about the city budget, I'm like, oh, so these taxes that I'm paying, whether it be for water or all of these other things, like, that's my money. We pay the alder people to do this job. So this money that I'm paying, I have a right as a owner of this money to say where I want it to go. And so just because we are sunsetting this campaign, we absolutely continually always need to be putting a demand on the state. Always, never pulling back. As long as police exist, as long as they keep asking for more money, we have to continue to push back and demand where we want money to go, whether it's the Office of Violence Prevention, which I think is now called the Office of Community Wellness and Safety, or wherever those things are, those places, those departments that people want to see, the health department, people want to see their tax dollars go. We have to continue to put the demand on the state because they will continue to keep pushing back, keep asking for more when we're not in a position to ever give policing more money than they already have. And so we're going to continue to create spaces for folks to learn about the city budget through this toolkit and other places that we can connect people to.
Yeah,
It's
one
not
thing
an option not to stop organizing. It's just not.
Yeah, one thing I just want to draw us attention to, I have a copy of, you know, No More Police, and, they write, our task now is to build the power necessary to once again fight back. This time, not just to wrestle or not just to wrest money from police budgets, but power and resources from the carceral state, including the power they hold to define, absorb, and dilute our demands. The lessons of history teach us that we can count on the fact that policing will continue to refigure itself to give us the illusion of change while remaining fundamentally the same. That is why it is essential that our demands and the visions underlying them remain clear. We must focus our work on dismantling the carceral state and creating the conditions for liberatory forms of governance to emerge. So while we're seeing police and trying to reconfigure how their posture, we're seeing all of these things, our fundamental task is unchanged. If we're serious about building the liberatory worlds we say we want to live in, if we're serious about doing the things we say we want to do, our task is to find ways to hold on to that vision and then contend and wrestle power away from police and the carceral state. It's the illusion for me. It's the illusion for me. They've sold the illusion. Y'all, I'm not going to go there, but they have sold the illusion to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
important. Our canvas manager and I always talks about we need to get into the field more. I'm like, yeah, we do, because that's why it's important
Right.
to talk to our people, our everyday people, and contend and actually name that's an illusion. Because
Mm-hmm.
actually, to get to the underlying things, when you hear your neighbors say they want more police, we have to contend and say, do you really want more police? When's the last time you've called the police? And what did that lead you to? Actually, are you sure you don't want more safety? Do you want more police, or do you want that person who broke your window not to break your window? I actually don't want my window broken. Then let's support and meet the needs of that person who broke your window. Why do you think they're breaking windows? Because the conditions on the ground have escalated.
That's right.
They're fighting for survival. And part of the reason they're fighting for survival is because we've seen a retraction of the social safety net. We've seen the government cut aid and resources um, to people. So we have to contend and fight back for that illusion.
Right.
Well, Marquisa, that was a really a wonderful conversation. If folks have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature. You can begin to stack them in the chat. And what we're definitely gonna answer them um, in the next section. So if you have
You're
questions,
getting a lot of talk back, Devin. Right. So true. Right. Very true. It's the illusion for me, Jerusha says.
yeah, come on, the illusion of it. But if not, if there are no questions, and we'll have time after this as well. What I will, what I will do is actually begin to chat a little bit more about the toolkit, which
Let's
we're really
go.
excited about. So we've worked with dear comrade Tracy Corder, who's actually with us when we launched Liberate MKE in 2019, helping support in all the ways, strategizing with us, and our comms consultant Anastasia Douglas, awesome, maximize communication. Check them out; they're great. To actually write this toolkit. And what it is sort of a of learnings, um, some resources, and just some general information about the Milwaukee City budget. So without further ado, I'm going to begin to share my screen, and we're also going to drop it in the chat, and um, we're going to walk through some of the really cool features in our new toolkit. So ready on
Drum
your
roll.
mark,
For
get
the
set,
launch of the Liberate MKE Toolkit,
go.
not Devin's Apple Music,
Can
but
we
the
see it?
toolkit.
Are we seeing the toolkit?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, by the way, if you want to know what I'm listening to on Apple Music, let me know. But are folks able to see the toolkit at this time? I believe so, right?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, like you can see all the amazing photos we've taken, but I just want to draw our attention to a few places, and I believe Rye is dropping it into the chat as we speak. One of the things,
Hold on, Devin, really quickly. Let's talk about this picture really quick. So Rye, I think, no, it was whose memory was it? Oh yeah, it was Rye's. Rye's favorite memory was being at the press conference. This picture at the top was the day that we launched Liberate MKE. So it was like all of these folks, all of these partners who came to support us that day. And then this picture down at the bottom left is when we held that strategy session. That's M. Adams, who's in that kind of like that horseshoe kind of U shape, half U shape with us. That's when we had that conversation. We did that spectrogram. And then that picture to the bottom right corner is Devin and I with some of our partners out in the field. We were talking about Liberate MKE.
yeah. And so within the toolkit, you can see obviously the table of contents, and like here how the budget, all the things in it. But what I want to draw our attention to is a few things. Is literally like our traditional campaign timeline. So traditionally, Milwaukee has a budget cycle that happens every year, and we've always launched around early summer. We've launched at Juneteenth, and so from there, what we always try to do is right after we launch, have some community education events, and just begin to have the conversation with our people, really with the goal to peak by September. And if you can look on the next page, you can see that we want to be able to begin to peak at the end of like August, September, because that's really when the budget seasons are. A few people, I think Nicole and Nia, talked about some of their memories being testifying at City Hall. That's when you want to have, that's when you testify at City Hall. So it's really important that you have your conversations with your neighbors. What is it that you want to invest money in? Like, why is it important that we're moving money away from the police so that by the end of September or early October, you can go down to City Hall and have a cohesive message. Like, we want to demand we move money away from the police to fund the streetlights on our corner. I came home the other night at 8 o'clock and it was pitch black, and I was afraid to walk from my car to my house door or whatever it is. Along with that, we've also added some example testimonies. So like how you can structure your testimony, how you can structure an email to your local elected official. So all of these are things that we've used, like these are templates that we've used in the past that we're, you know, put in one place and sharing um, with you as well. The last thing I want us to draw our attention to is that we also are sharing, potential ways we've educated people around the budget. One of the things we've done so often is we had sort of, what we call Milwaukee City Budget 101. So we'd reach out to somebody from the budget department, and they've been so gracious, and they've always been willing to come out and just talk to people about the city budget. Before Liberate MKE, I had never looked at a city budget. And so we were able, having the budget director or somebody from the budget office come in and answer all of our questions around the budget um, is always useful. And when we also talk about the education piece, the last thing I'll draw our attention to is, on the very back page, there are more resources, and this sort of coincides with my last point I'll say about the actual toolkit is that we have like this resource page. We've also sunsetted the LiberateMKE.com, and we've archived a lot of that on our art website, which is artmke.org. And if you go under the Liberate MKE section, if you scroll down, you can obviously find the toolkit, but you can also find a lot of the other resources we've created with Liberate MKE over the years. And like the last thing I'll say is that, this toolkit will live, for a while, forever, really. But we see this as an opportunity for you to share this with your people. If you're in another organization and y'all are trying to develop, budget demands, I think there's still very useful things you can take from how we've run Liberate MKE over the years that you can implement. If you are if you're in a neighborhood association and y'all have a demand of something y'all want to see come to your neighborhood, you can use this toolkit and some of the advocacy templates in here to really make that demand. Marquesa, what are other ways you see people being able to use this toolkit? And is there anything else within the toolkit you want me to draw our attention to?
Yeah, thanks for asking. No, I just think that it's an amazing roadmap. If you are interested in learning about the city budget, this gives just a pathway from when the city starts requesting department budgets. And so it's like while that's happening, you could be teaching people about the city budget. So it really gives a lot of background and information templates. There's other links to other toolkits that we've created around Liberate MKE, but this is a great way to ground people. And if you get it and you're like, oh, I don't know where to begin, I'm still not sure, we are available to support people in conversations. We are open to coming to organizations and coming to speak and talk about some of these things, or finding people from maybe one of our leadership development cohorts, like Nicole, to come and speak to individuals about how they can participate and in the city budget and what things that they learn, and also maybe teach some things out to people in the community. So I just think it's a really great pathway and roadmap for folks to learn about the city budget.
Yeah, the one thing, like, right, we said we're sunsetting the campaign, but just because we're not running Liberate MKE doesn't mean that the knowledge we've gained over the years is like leaving our head. So we still want to be a resource and share what we've learned, some of the challenges, like how we've, turned people out, how we've, come together around demands or what we want money invested in. So yeah, so we're just like again like super grateful and really excited to share this. We're gonna have some printed copies in the future, but like, share this link, share this toolkit with folks who are interested in organizing and budget work. Share this toolkit with folks who maybe you've seen throw down with Liberate MKE in the past. We really want, this toolkit to be used citywide. We want folks to understand all the things we've been able to learn throughout this process and use that so we're not always recreating the wheel. So we really
Right.
see this as a crowdsourced resource that can go all the places.
Devin, can you scroll up to the theory of change? This is something that we created with our leadership development cohort. And it says if we divest from policing and invest in community repairment programs, that then we can rebuild our communities by funding housing programs, mental health, and young people. Direct investment in neighborhoods that have been systematically minoritized encourages harm reduction and proactive support against cultural biases, racism, and otherness, and allows us to heal from collective historical multi-generational trauma. So that was our theory of change that we built with our leadership, one of our leadership development cohorts. And that is why we are using, that's why we've been doing the Liberate MKE, because we know that if we do this, we will get this. Right. And so just wanted to draw our attention to, what will be your theory of change? What will you possibly use? And what will you say to support the work that you may want to do when advocating during the city budget?
Yes, thank you, Marquesa, for that. One other budget related ish resource that I wanted to share is yeah, engage on Milwaukee. And I'll just take us there briefly. Is you can see, sorry, you can see sort of what the budget, how Milwaukee gets its money, where its money comes from, sales tax, whatever, revenue, property taxes. They're always going to be taxing us more, trying to get that. Um, but you can also like provide feedback,
Oh, you want to
provide
click it so you
feedback.
can see what the actual budget is, Devin? So people can see it. No, go back. Yep, and then click one of those arrows, and it'll
Oh,
show
yes,
the
sorry.
actual the budget this
Yeah.
year.
So yeah, sorry. You can see where the money you can see where the money goes. You can see where the money goes. You know, a lot of this, this police number, they're rigging. This is just they've systematically rigged it so it looks like less than it is. Uh, Partially because they've added some of that. A lot of this, which should be over 300 million, they've added to this pension obligation piece. That's how they're
And what
rigging.
about capital improvements as well?
That's how they're rigging that. Capital improvements are sort of long-term projects they fund each year that could look like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to City Hall, but like the eighth floor is like condemned. And so one of the things that often is talked about in the budget is a capital improvement to fix that floor. But it's like other long-term things, so like building. So one thing I think they were trying to do is build like a new police headquarters. That'd be a capital improvement. Another way
Mm,
to obfuscate how much money they get. But you can even see, just comparatively, neighborhood services $20 million, libraries $25 million. So for every $10, for every $12 we give to the police, we give $1 to the library. For every $15 we give to the police, we give $1 to neighborhood services. So for every, $15 we give $1 to the health department. So you can begin to see the scale and just how much money the police receive on a year-to-year basis. So this is also another way, that you can provide feedback on what you'd like to see in the budget. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen again.
and I think, Devin, that they created that website really following after us. There was no website like that before.
Yeah, no, Marquez is directly right. Is they've created that website to try to act like they're making the budget more accessible and they're open to feedback because of the advocacy and the work, the organizing work we've done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
still,
has anybody ever heard of this website before? How about that? I wonder.
yeah, put it in the chat if you've ever heard of Engage MKE. No,
I didn't think
that,
so, Brenda.
no, ma'am, no, sir. um, So still, we want to open it up if you have questions. We do have we have a few minutes to be able to answer questions. If not, we'll begin to move towards some exciting announcements and next steps. Maybe one question I'll ask you all to answer in the chat is like, what part of the Liberate MKE toolkit excites you the most? Is maybe a question that I'll ask in the chat. What aspect of the toolkit is most exciting to you? Brenda said the resources. Yeah, so many cool resources. The info that we've listed, the templates and examples we think
Right.
are really useful. Like they're gonna be useful for us as we launch a new campaign. Like how can we use
That's
some of
right.
these templates to support that?
And while you guys are possibly still dropping, I want to just also draw your attention back to that Engage website. There's an opportunity, the opportunity is coming up. Like if you decide, I want to test this, I want to test the toolkit out, I want to go and be a part of this. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know, every year the mayor submits his proposed budget to the Common Council. As you can see, this date just sitting here with no time, no location. It's usually shared with residents through their like email. There's really no information on the news. It might be in the newspaper somewhere buried, but who's listening and watching or reading that? And so a few days before September 23rd, they'll give you information, but it's usually in the evening and it's at City Hall, and you can go down to City Hall and you can listen to what the mayor is actually proposing in regards to the budget. And then it moves through this cycle. So the 23rd, September 23rd through October 17th, the Finance and Personnel Committee reviews it, and that's the Common Council and different folks who sit on that actual committee. And that is the opportunity and the time to be talking to alders, to be taking your neighbors and saying, let's go have a meeting with Alder so and so, and let's go tell them that what the mayor said is not at all what we want. And then the opportunity in early October, again, these dates, sometimes they drop days before. The joint public hearing is the next opportunity for you to actually go and participate and testify at City Hall. Sometimes we've been there for hours. Sometimes we're not there very long, because at times when we were first learning about it, people weren't even showing up. But now that we've advocated for years, we've educated so many others, we want you all to continue to push this information out and help us to continue to get the message out that folks still need to be putting a demand on the state. And then between that October date and November 7th, the Finance and Personnel Committee and alders are having lots of conversations to then come back and propose a budget that should be based on what we have said that we wanted.
Yes, thank you for that, Marquesa. And then, seeing some no questions, fun crowd, is, one of the things we'll start moving towards announcements. The first one is Marquesa talked about, and I think it's the perfect segue, is that we were able to win resources and money for participatory budgeting. Shout out. And so one of the things we were doing this at the end of October, October 25th, you get to come join us at the new MLK library. We're gonna be having our dollars, our vote community ed event talking about participatory budgeting and why it's really, really important that we participate in that. It's going to be an interactive session at the MLK Library. Rye is dropping the information in the chat. Join us there. Share with your friends, share with your neighbors. How many folks knew that Milwaukee had allocated earlier this year $600,000 through the Milwaukee Community Impact Fund for participatory budgeting? Not me, Brenda. Brenda, I want to see right? So one of the things we're really doing is we want to make sure our community knows that we do have this $600,000 to fund programs that we determine that we vote on, right? That we determine we vote on. And so we're going to be doing that. So, share that. Share that with another person in your network who might not have known that this exists. And for folks who don't know, participatory budgeting is just the act of allowing residents, everyday people, to have the opportunity to have decision-making power over how money is spent. Currently, it's these 15 elected officials and a mayor who's doing that. Participatory budgeting says, actually, no, we all have a vote and we can all have a say in how this money is spent. So we'd love to see each and every one of you all there on October 25th at the brand new MLK Library. The next announcement we want to make is I'm going to share a little video. We're talking about sunsetting LiberateMKE, but one of the things we're going to be doing along with that to continue to sunset and that celebrate is we're going to be having our end of the year fundraiser, really talking about why we're sunsetting LiberateMKE and celebrating all the things we've won with LiberateMKE over the years. And so that we have a save the date officially, which our fundraiser is going to be Thursday, November 13th, 6 p.m. I think I can share the location. Can I let somebody give me a thumbs up, a heads up if I can share the location, where it's going to be at?
I think you can. The lady told me officially today that we were good to go.
and it's gonna be at the Black Holocaust Museum. So the very for folks who for the real ones who know when we had our fundraiser in 2019, the year we launched Liberate MKE, it was also at the Black Holocaust Museum. And so to go back there in that space 6 years later, it's so fitting and so fitting. Look, if you're interested in a sponsorship, throwing down with us, Raya Isha's put information about that in the chat as well. We're very, very excited to be going back. And we can't wait to see each and every one of you. If you're interested in being a sponsor for that, put it in the chat. And guess what? You don't have to wait until October or November, sorry, to make your donation. You can donate right now. You can donate right now as well. And I'm gonna give y'all, since y'all are here and y'all are the real ones, I'm gonna give y'all one more. I'm gonna give y'all another sneak peek. I'm gonna give you guys the first look of our Liberate MKE video teaser. So this is a teaser for a larger video we're gonna show release at the fundraiser. And give me one more second, y'all, because I did it wrong. No, I did it
Real
right. Okay.
quick, Devin, Malisha says she's not seeing my chat responses. Has anyone else been seeing the links I've been dropping? Can you
You're
let me know?
dropping it in host and panelists.
Yeah.
You got to
So
drop it in everyone.
yeah, if you can
Um,
drop that in everyone, if you go to the chat, if you click on that and then
I don't have that option.
Okay, cool. I'll go and drop it. Thanks for letting us know that, my Alicia. Thanks, Rye, for all of the hard work you've been doing in the chat. So this is the PB. If you want to come to our PB, oh, and then it's like not letting me copy in place. I'll start dropping them though. But this is for PB. If you want to come to our big PB event, and then save the date you saw that. But also, if you're interested, you or your organization is interested in sponsorship, you can utilize this link and scroll down that page. Looks like I might have to put in the actual www, but that's another option as well. Was there anything else that we were supposed to drop? Did they get the toolkit? So you guys probably didn't get the toolkit. So
Oh,
I will also, well, yeah, I think, did you guys get the toolkit?
probably not.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mylisha. I
thank
am
you.
now gonna, oh, it looks like I was not dropping in everyone either. Toolkit.
Thank you all so much. And with Marquez,
PB.
Marquez is gonna drop, and I'm gonna start a little bit the teaser.
Liberate MKE was never just a name. It was a declaration, a vision rooted in love, resistance, and community power. We came together during one of the hardest times in our city's history. We fed the block, protected the youth, held healing circles, made noise, and we did it not for credit, but for the culture, for our people, for our city. As this chapter closes, the mission remains, because liberation isn't just a campaign, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, so that's just a short form, um, just a little teaser for a larger video where we had a few of our partners come in and also chat about like Liberate MKE and why. So to see the full video, join us at our fundraiser on November the 12th. The last thing I want to chat
Is this the
about
12th? It's the 13th,
the
November
oh
13th. We'll have lots of information. We'll definitely send it to you all. Don't mind us in the links and the wrong. We'll get it to you.
yeah, well, I'll have a follow-up. Y'all, I literally the dates, like I mix them up all the time. And Marquez is like, did you mean this date? That's like a Sunday. Like I'm like, no, I just got it wrong. And it's funny, I have a calendar right in front of me. November the 13th, Thursday the 13th, 6 p.m. Join us there to see the full version. The last thing I just want to, chat a little bit about, we'll drop a link. Maybe I'll drop the link to this. Um, is, is we're sunsetting Liberate MKE to create space for our Northwest Side campaign, our food access campaign. Nicole's part of our cohort leading that. And so if you're like on IG, I'm also just share it a little bit. We're launching this new campaign with our Northwest Side members and a cohort of folks, and they've been going through campaign training to really develop and implement a campaign rooted in, input we got at 3 different visioning sessions from our residents. And the issue they wanted to work around is the issue of food access and food justice on the Northwest Side. I don't know, folks have probably seen that, again, that large grocery stores are pulling out of Milwaukee, you know, and we've seen that. And the expectation is probably that's going to continue. And so we want to be proactive and ensure that, like, right, folks on the Northwest Side have access to healthy foods, through traditional grocery stores potentially, but also through other ways by strengthening the ecosystem of community gardens, strengthening the ecosystems of like pantries and just healthy food access and options on the Northwest Side. And so I'll just share very briefly, and we'll drop it in the chat. If you're on IG, you can check us out there, but I'll just share it as well. Just some of the things, we're doing with that. Like I talked about, this is rooted and our talking to our neighbors on the Northwest Side, talking to our people and understanding that like they want like this food access thing is really a quality of life thing for them on the Northwest Side. We're doing it again with our Northwest Side members. All of them are great. Mrs. Tucker, Marquesa's mom, Nicole, and so many great members who've been with us for years, gone through really rigorous campaign development training and really going on this journey with us. And like I said, we're building this thing to ensure that the Northwest Side has the community gardens, grocery stores, farmers markets, education around healthy food for the Northwest Side and really the city. And we anticipate we're launching this sometime in 2026, early 2026, March, April, May, sometime spring of 2026. I guess that would be the season um, as a way. And we just, again, we see this as the opportunity not only to develop a new campaign, but to develop a new campaign with our members that is member centered, that's rooted in what they are looking for and what they want to achieve, and that will also impact folks on the Northwest Side. So you can join us, take action with us. The bit.ly on the screen, as well as learn more about the Northwest Side through our YouTube channel, which has our Northwest Side stories, where folks have been talking about this over the last year plus. So I'm just like super glad to be able to share that as well. So we're sunsetting Liberate MKE, but the sun will rise again with this new campaign, and I cannot wait about it. Want to thank each and every one of you all so much for joining us. I think we said we were going to 7:30, so we do have a couple of minutes. So I'll open it up actually one more last time for questions. Marquesa, this is the first time I've been early with anything, but we'll open up for one last round of questions if anybody has any questions about any upcoming events before we move to a close.
Questions, comments,
Comments.
celebration. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. And I can't wait for you to share it too, Nicole.
I can't wait. If there are no more questions, we're just so grateful. Maybe we'll just do great work. Thank y'all. Um, just one word, put in the chat how you're feeling leaving our space tonight. Yeah, in my case, you can share your word out loud.
Well,
Other
first,
folks
before we
we can
do
think
that,
of.
let's shout out Rye for the work that she was doing in the chat. You know, y'all weren't seeing it. Devin and I saw it, and then we were able to reshare it. So shout out to Rye for supporting us that way. Malisha, our program and logistics coordinator, Nicole, and Liz, so many other dope folks in the community who are joining us. And with that, my one word would be mm, 2 words: bittersweet. Bittersweet.
Yeah, my word is reflective. Reflective.
Yeah. See you,
All things to be
Shanika. Teresa excited.
empowered.
Yeah. Leaving with more imagination. Awesome sauce.
And for y'all as well, just to note, we will share out. If you, we will share an email tomorrow with all the resources again, just because it might have been at the end like resource overload, but we'll share it tomorrow with just all those resources. Can't wait to see each and every one of you in one of our spaces over the next few months. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and good night. Bye, y'all.
Night, y'all. Thanks. Bye.
Let me stop recording.
Bye, Kimberly. Bye, Norma.